Hello.
Hi Pat, how you doing? Welcome
I'm
to a
all right.
welcome to
I'm all right, mate.
a
How are you?
yeah, a chapter of my life. And what we're going to do is we're going to focus on a game that you played in, probably the most controversial FA Cup tie ever, on the
Yeah.
9th of March 1974. You got drawn at home at St James's Park, Newcastle United versus Nottingham Forest. You take up the story from there.
Yeah, it was, I think, quarter-final, Gabby, yeah. So it was a good home tie for us, but I remember it very, very well. There's 60,000 people there, all mad sort of Newcastle fans, and Forest were well supported as well. And then the game got off to a bad start for us. We were two down, then we pulled one back, and then Uh, something came over me in the second half because the referee gave a penalty against one of our players. He said he'd obstructed McKenzie. Do you remember Duncan McKenzie?
Great player.
And then so he's given a penalty, and I've argued and argued and argued that it wasn't. It was just Duncan McKenzie was playing for it, and I said, that's never a penalty. And he said, I'm giving a penalty. I said, if you give a penalty, you cause a riot. He said, right, I'm sending you off. I'm sending you off now. I'm not going to go off. I said, like I said, if you send me off, there'll be a riot here. But I eventually went off, and Nottingham Forest scored the penalty. And sure as anything, the crowd ran on, and it got abandoned for a while. So that's my claim to fame on that one, really, getting sent off in front of 60,000. And then at 3-1, they scored the penalty 3-1. Then unbelievably, Newcastle, without myself, 10 men, pulled it back, and Bob Moncur knocked a late winner in to make it 4-3. So, big memories, really. I shouldn't have probably pushed the referee as much as I was doing, telling him it wasn't a penalty. But, it was one of them days.
But
And then, sorry, Gabby.
sorry, Pat. The words that you chose, you didn't swear at the referee. You just told him that it wasn't a penalty in your opinion, and told him what the outcome could possibly be if he gave the penalty. Is that correct?
I did say that, yeah. Was it in what I said, but I really confronted him because I didn't think it was a penalty.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm giving a penalty. I said, yeah, that's never, ever a penalty. How can you do it? It was one of them real arguments.
Yeah. Yeah.
And right when he said, I'm sending you off, I said, I'm not going to go off anyway. So, me. So, but eventually I had to go off. And, straight away there was a riot, and, it's gone down in history, hasn't it, really?
But that wasn't the end of it, was it? Because after the game, when you're right, Bobby Moncur scored the winning goal in the dying minutes.
Yeah.
Nottingham Forest put in an official complaint to the FA and
They did.
said that because of the pitch invasion, it put Forest off their game, and they were awarded a replay, wasn't they?
Yeah, there was a replay, yeah, at Everton.
Hmm.
And it was a few days later, and I played in the first one. And it was a draw. I think it was 0-0, I think. So we had to play them again, and I was suspended for the second game. But I think Malcolm MacDonald managed to get a goal in the third replay, and we knocked him out 1-0. But then we managed to get to Wembley from there. But there were the funny times, aren't there, really? Cup ties, and when there's big crowds there. But we managed to see them off. But I think they were quite fortunate to get a replay. But there you are. If there's riots on pitches, I suppose they might have been right to ask for a replay, which I'm sure we still thought we could just sort them out. But happy days.
What was the feeling like in the Newcastle dressing room? Because to come back from that, and again, as you say, in 10 men, and the most unlikely of heroes, Bobby Moncur. No disrespect to Bobby, but he's a centre half. You would expect John Tudor or Supermac to score the goals as Malcolm did in that replay. But from total elation to in the dressing room going into that replay game, it must have been from elation to deflation. But you guys must have had a little bit of a bee in your bonnet, being forced by the FA to replay that game where you didn't think that you should have.
Yeah, I think you're right there because with 10 men and you manage to win, and then they complain, rightly so maybe, but yeah, it was a replay we weren't looking forward to. But like I say, at the end of the day, we managed to see them off. But it was tough times.
Was there any needle on the pitch in that replay, especially probably towards Duncan McKenzie,
Well, I think I had a quick word with him. What are you doing diving about a bit? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it was a straightforward, quarter-final FA Cup. Everybody was getting around each other, and it was a real sort of battle. But
Yeah.
they got off to a great start, and then, like we've just said, we managed to start pulling it back. And then when I get sent off, I think, we feared the worst, but unbelievably, with 10 men, they didn't miss me, did they, really? But they pulled it round. But elation in the dressing room afterwards, and one or two people saying to me, what were you saying to the referee there? Why did you, that kind of banter.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was... it's one of them things in your career, isn't it, really? What you always remember that one. And then, like I said, we managed to get to Wembley. We didn't do very well, but, it was a big match, though. There was 60-odd thousand at Newcastle. So it was a big game.
But when you went through and Malcolm scored the winner, you then played Burnley, didn't you, in the semi-final at Hillsborough?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, Hillsborough. Big crowd again, massive crowd. And, it was... Well, I've seen the sort of, clips of it. I've got an half an hour tape, with the game on, and they were doing ever so well, Burnley. I think we were quite fortunate just to be hanging on a little bit first half. But then we've got into the second half and it's still sort of level. And then Terry Ibbott, my ex-best mate, he's hit the pass of a lifetime. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Quality pass. Yeah, great pass.
Have you seen a ball like that before? And who's on the end of it? Malcolm MacDonald. Now, the pace that Malcolm had was unbelievable. And there's Colin Waldron and there's another lad trying to grapple him to the floor, but he shrugs them off and he gets into the box there and he hits it with his right foot and it went in. So, yeah, it's great to have a striker of Malcolm MacDonald's class, knowing that, he could get 20, 30 goals a season. You need that kind of player in your team. But we were lucky to survive a little bit against Burnley, but I think in the end we probably just about deserved it.
But having a player like Malcolm in your team, as you say, he got everything. He was fearless. He got a great left foot. His right foot wasn't bad either, and he was great in the air as well. But you're right, because I remember a Superstars programme, and I think Malcolm MacDonald done the 100 metres in just over 10 seconds. He was absolutely rapid, wasn't he, Supermac?
Unbelievable. I mean, I have played against him.
Yeah.
In my younger days at Barnsley when he was at Luton, and I knew what he was all about. But God, you wouldn't believe how quick he was.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the quickest player I've ever played against. And yeah, we used to give him a bit of stick in training a bit. He was always lagging behind on the longer distance stuff. But he used to get his own back and saying, "Where were you there on the sprints? Where were you? Where were you?" But lightning quick. I don't think I've ever seen anybody as quick in my life.
And then, of course, when you got to the final, Supermac had in the press. I'm not saying that Supermac went to the press, but what happens is you get reported and they have a chat with the player. And Malcolm was never short in coming forward, was he? And he always fancied himself. And why shouldn't he? Because he was arguably the greatest central striker in the First Division in those days. And he probably said something that he may have regretted about Tommy Smith and Emlyn Hughes. And I think Shankly just pinned up the piece, the press cutting, on the Liverpool dressing room and pretty much said, "There's the team talk." He must have regretted that a little bit, but that was Malcolm, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was his attitude, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He would say what he thought.
Mm.
And he obviously must have thought what he did say about Liverpool as a team. But I think it's on the day, Gabby, isn't it? It's really on the day. What we'd done, we'd gone for a week's training camp, down south somewhere. And yeah, we were away from home for all the week before the final. So whether or not that didn't help, I'm not sure.
Hmm.
But we can all make excuses. But on the day, it was, as far as I can remember, it was a very poor first half. I remember walking off thinking we're not playing very well here, but we can win this.
Mm.
They're not playing well, and we're not playing well. But eventually, Keegan struck, and before you know it, he got another, and we ended up on a bad result, really. But the games that obviously as you looking back now, you wish we could have won that kind of thing. But that's the way football goes. It's all about results, isn't it?
Sadly, it is. I think it's about entertainment as well, and that Newcastle team were very entertaining. And if you're looking at playing devil's advocate for Malcolm, not that Malcolm needs somebody to play that for him, every round in the FA Cup, Malcolm scored a goal every round. And also, Malcolm, on his home debut in 1971, put Liverpool to the sword when he scored a hat trick and made him an instant hero. So, whereas some people might be going on about Malcolm, Malcolm had good good grounding and good self belief, and he certainly had a reason to say that he was going to destroy Liverpool's defence because he previously did do that, didn't he?
Yeah, he did do, didn't he? Yeah, and I think that's probably where he got
Yeah,
the comment from. I think because I've done it once, I can do it again as well. But
exactly.
yeah, I mean, he could put he put his goals on the table. He used to say that, put your goals on, you know, the work rate that way. Put your goals on the table, in dressing room. And but yeah, he was a great player to have in your team. And but like I said a bit earlier, there, you knew you were going to get goals from him, really. But we had this thing about Liverpool, and at the time they were a great side, weren't they?
Yeah.
And it was always nice if you could sort them out. But yeah, Malcolm MacDonald is a real hero, he is. And hopefully I might be seeing him this weekend. I think I might be seeing him.
Yeah, you've got some celebration of a trophy that you won in the early 70s, wasn't it? Yeah.
I wasn't part of that,
No,
Gary. I
you was,
wasn't
yeah,
part of that. I
yeah,
was there a couple of years later, but
yeah,
I've been invited to Newcastle on Friday.
yeah.
And me and Wyn Davies, do you remember Wyn
Of
Davies?
course, yes, yeah,
Yeah, Wyn Davies. Me and Wyn Davies are going up. They're having a dinner. And, they're going to, the presser there, John Gibson, who is the local sort of person with the radio and the newspaper. He'll be interviewing people, and a good time should be had by all. But yeah, it's they're celebrating 50 years of winning that Fairs Cup. So yeah, it's just a pity they've never won much more since then, isn't it? Really, but I wish them well for the near future.
Well, you almost won something in 1974, which would have been a couple of years after. But as I say, sadly, it didn't work out for you on that day. But who knows what the future holds in football and for Newcastle United, because it would be great to see Newcastle up the top of that Premier League and playing in FA Cup finals, because that's as I remember that black and white striped Magpie team being true champions, although they didn't quite in my lifetime win many championships or cups.
Yeah, it's a very competitive
Yeah,
game, isn't it? Really,
yeah, it
there's
is.
there's teams there, as you see now. There's top five, top six teams, and then the other teams aren't. They haven't got the same quality, have they? Sort of thing. So, but I wish them well, and it's right that Steve Bruce has got the job there, Gabby, has he? Steve Bruce got the
Yeah,
job at Newcastle.
yeah, I think it's going to be a big ask for him. I think football is different now to what it was in the 70s. And the one thing that he's not going to get is he's not going to get 60,000 supporters behind him at St James's Park, because again in them days it was standing and there wasn't many seats.
No, they weren't, were they? Time's gone by, hasn't it? I
Yeah.
mean, you go now. I've been to the stadium recently, and it's unbelievable, really, to think that that was where we used to play. When you look at the pitch and the stands, and it's absolutely fantastic stadium, absolutely brilliant.
How do you feel, just before we close this interview here, how do you feel as a former player going back? Because it is almost a different game. It's certainly a different ground. But for me, those were the halcyon days of the golden decade. And you guys played in an age where you could relate to the fans could relate to you guys, and you were absolutely hero worshipped. Does it still give you goosebumps walking on St James's Park?
I think it does, yeah. It's great to get invited back. Bob Moncur, he's got his own suite there, and he invites somebody back sort of every game. And it's really nice, because the people obviously remember the times because, the fanatics up there.
Yeah.
But then looking behind the scenes, you can't believe Bob Moncur's suite and the different levels of hospitality and the people there. And, like it's a real sort of big time feel. But then when you go out onto the pitch, and I've been on the pitch a couple of times and give the crowd a wave, it's absolutely fantastic to be welcomed as much as they do. But then on the playing surface, Gabbie, it's unbelievable, really, to think what we used to play on.
Yeah.
And it was the same for everybody, wasn't it? We all had a bad pitch. I mean, there's some worse than others. But, yeah, it's just a different game altogether now. It's different levels. There's players getting X amount of whatever. And, it is a different game. There's that much money involved. I just can't believe where it all comes from.
No.
But there were happy days, and like you say, we were friends with some of the fans. You made them welcome if they wanted to have a picture or shake hands, or you were a do or something. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed my time at Newcastle. It was the best 5 years playing wise for me.
Well, can I thank you so much, Pat? We will reconvene in a few weeks' time, and we'll
Brilliant.
go in depth about your career, a career that saw you play at Barnsley, at Newcastle United, at Arsenal, and at my club, Birmingham City. And I'm looking forward to talking to you about Jim Smith, because I think that he was possibly one hell of a character in that dressing room.
Yeah, he certainly was a character, Jim Smith. Yeah, he was. Yeah. No, I've enjoyed it, Gabbie. I've enjoyed it. So,
Lovely.
Get back in touch when you're ready.
Will do. Thanks for that, Pat. And
okay, mate. Pleasure, mate.
Enjoy tomorrow night, and best wishes to all them superstars up there at Newcastle United Football Club. Thank you.
Thanks very much indeed.
Cheers, pal.
Bye.
Thanks, Pat.
Bye, mate.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.